Well, the January 6th committee will hold its third public hearing this afternoon. Panel members say that they'll focus on efforts to pressure former Vice President Mike Pence to block the congressional certification of President Biden's election victory. And this comes as the committee obtains emails between Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginni, and conservative lawyer John Eastman. Our congressional correspondent, Nikole Killion, has been following this investigation and is on Capitol Hill with the latest on today's hearing. Well, it's not the first time we've heard about Ginni, but we'll get into that in a little bit. What can you tell us about today's witnesses and the significance of the investigation?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, in terms of the focus of today's hearing, it will specifically look at this pressure campaign to try to convince former Vice President Mike Pence to nullify the results of the 2020 election, something he ultimately didn't do, and that was because of aides like Greg Jacob, who is his former counsel, as well as Michael Ludwig, a former retired judge who was advising him as well, who dissuaded him from taking this kind of advice. They are among the witnesses that will be testifying at this hearing today. We may also hear excerpts from the deposition of Mark Short, Mike Pence's former chief of staff. And so basically committee aides say they're going to drill down on 4 parts of this scheme, starting with this debunked theory to try to push the former vice president not to certify the results of the election. That was a theory that was pushed by conservative attorney John Eastman in a memo, as well as an Oval Office meeting. They also say that this hearing will focus on Pence's ultimate rejection of that theory, and then furthermore take a closer look at the efforts by the former president to pressure his own vice president and the former president's efforts to rally supporters to try to pressure Mike Pence. You remember there were some tweets. Obviously, the former president also made some statements at his rally on January 6th that day. And then lastly, the hearing will also take a look at kind of the broader issues around protecting our democracy.
You know, when we first heard about Ginni Thomas and her emails and correspondence, the conversation was about really her husband and whether or not Justice Thomas should recuse himself should any cases come before the court that had to do with January 6th or the election or anything like that. But now we see that, you know, her correspondence with Attorney John Eastman was even more significant. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we know about these emails?
Well, CBS News has confirmed that the Select Committee has obtained some correspondence via email between this conservative attorney that I mentioned, John Eastman, and Ginni Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Now, we don't know the content of those exchanges and specifically what they discussed, but from the committee's perspective, it does raise questions about her potential role and how involved she may have gotten in some of these efforts to overturn the 2020 election, simply because committee has also gotten exchanges that Ginni Thomas had with Mark Meadows, former President Trump's chief of staff. And in those text exchanges, she did encourage him to act to try to overturn the election. So that being said, you know, the committee is now trying to deliberate and figure out whether or not this should be part of these public hearings.
So we've been getting these little sort of breadcrumbs from the committee in between hearings. The Ginni Thomas situation was one. The other one is this really interesting video. The panel released surveillance video of Republican Congressman Barry Loudermilk leading a Capitol tour the day before the attack, and it shows at least one of the guests documenting locations. That video is really sort of raising new questions, and you asked Loudermilk about this. I want to play that sound.
Can you explain who you were giving a tour to that day?
Well, it was a family and some guests of folks that they brought from Georgia.
Do you know who that man was in the video?
I don't know him.
Do you think what's on that video is appropriate?
Absolutely not. I condemn that kind of language. But no one in that group showed that type of aggression that day.
So we should say, you know, that individual that was taking photos and stuff while on the tour was also seen the very next day, you know, encouraging people to enter the Capitol. Why is this video of concern, and will it be discussed in the hearing today?
Well, we don't know if it'll really come up in the hearing simply because, again, the focus will be more on the former vice president and that pressure campaign that we referenced. But this is the committee trying to get more information from the congressman. I mean, just last month, they sent a request to him asking for more information about these tours, and they say that he didn't respond. So they just put out the video, hoping that that would compel him to speak before the panel. Now, when I talked to the congressman, he said, well, look, I didn't get their request, and my name's plastered all over TV. I'm getting death threats because of this. And, you know, at the end of the day, in his view, there is nothing there. I did ask him, you know, why this person, this man in question, may have been taking pictures of the stairwell, for instance. And he said that there was a golden eagle sconce on the top of that stairwell, and that's what this person was photographing. So, you know, he again says that this was just a group. They weren't doing anything nefarious. And the Capitol Police did put out a letter this week saying that there was nothing suspicious about the tour. That being said, the committee believes that there was, and that's why they still want to talk to the congressman, although he said even if they do re-up their request, he'll have to see if he'll acquiesce, if he actually will speak to them in the future.
Nikole Killion, thank you very much.
You bet.